on the top now. No, nothing can move you.
Let me start again. Welcome to another episode of the Bobby Brown Show. I'm your humble host, Robert Bob TV Brown. And with my schedule, it's hard for me to be up here consistently. I do have another job. I have a business, stuff like that, and dealing with family issues. So it's been kind of tough for me to be up here, but I'm here. And I got a couple of things I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is New York City and Florida. Now, let me see if I can pull this up. Florida, the NAACP has some words to say about Florida. Now you know me. I am a native Floridian. I am Florida all day. I love Florida. Florida is a beautiful place. They'll sit there and lie on Florida and for political posturing and to dump on Ron DeSantis, and he should be dumped on, to dump on Trump, and he should be dumped on. They're going to put Florida out there as one of the top cities not to go to, and the statistics don't even show that. It shows places like blue states like Michigan and purple states like Michigan and all that. Those are the places you don't want to go to. Iowa, Illinois, and stuff like that. Those are the places that are not good for black people. But yet the NAACP is going to go up here and tell America that, NAACP says Florida is actively hostile to minorities and issues a travel warning. So because of the situation that Ron DeSantis has with Disney and other things, whole host of other things, like, for an example, the Black History curriculum. Now, I looked at the policies on that. That's mainly higher studies of Black history where they're throwing in things like LGBTQ issues in the Black history study. I mean, that's a separate study. LGBTQ fights and rights and things like that is a different fight. It's a different era, different civil rights. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was going on back then, but don't try to lump it up. So according to what I've seen in that policy, it basically saying, look, we're not going to be throwing on, I'm not throwing away the whole program. It's just these parts in the program I'm throwing away. The AP studies, the advanced studies for college students. It's for college students. It's not for elementary, high school, middle school, and things like that. But we'll talk about that another day. It says NAACP says Florida. Now, let me stop and say this about the NAACP. NAACP stand for National Association of Advanced Colored People. Now, advanced colored people or to advanced colored people. Colored people are not black. So this is not a black organization. We tend to think it's a black organization. And a lot of times it's a majority of black, but it's an all lives matter organization. They got black, they got white, all kinds of people in there. Matter of fact, when it started, it was mainly Jewish and black. Okay. So for it to come out with this statement saying Florida is actively hostile to minorities and issue a travel warning. How is it actively? Actively? I live in New York City. My brother just got choked on a train. And you want to say Florida is actively hostile? Well, if you want to put it this way, Florida always been actively hostile. Florida always had a history of racism and bigotry. So have New York. So have Georgia. So have Virginia. So this whole country was built on that. So miss me with that. Civil rights groups cited Governor Ron DeSantis' attempt to erase black history, and other groups have followed suit. Now, again, not a fan of Ron DeSantis. Don't let the media spin to you and tell you what's going on. You need to actually go pull up the documents and read it for yourself to see what's actually going on. Whenever there's a new piece of legislation like this whack legislation that Cory Bush and what's the name is coming up with, reparations now bill, we're going to go over that because it's whack. It ain't got nothing to do with reparations. It ain't got, and it's funneling everybody else and their mama in there playing. So we'll deal with that another time. You can't go by what the media is telling you. And you can't go by what these politicians are telling you. You need to go and root and dig and find and investigate for yourself, because these people will lie to you all day. The news media is a spin house. His job is to spin things to go a certain way to help a certain political order. That's what the news do. So you can't let them tell you. You can't sit there and watch the news and sit there and believe it. That's one of the dumbest things that you can ever do, because they don't lie to you all day, all night. Like this article, the National Association for Advanced Colored People has issued a travel advisory for the state of Florida, calling the state actively hostile to minorities as Florida conservative government limits diversity efforts in the school. When has Florida limited diversity area? Every time I grew up, Florida always been about Mexicans, Cubans, and Puerto Ricans, and and Dominicans, and ever since I was a kid, it's always been a melting pot. The whole state was founded by the conquistadors, colonized by the conquistadors, the Latino world order, if you want to call it. Blacks been down there doing hard labor and hard work for a long time. I know my family is from Florida. I'm from Florida. Going there next month. But it's hostile. I love going to Florida. I'm going to always go to Florida. I love going home, spend time with my mama and my brothers and sisters and with my family members. I love going to the beach, chilling out. I'm going, and I'm going to have me a good time. So NAACP, you can miss me with this bull crap. In Saturday's press release, why are you doing a press release? This is all to attack Ron DeSantis. And my thing, people, stop attacking these numbnuts. Stop talking about how bad they are, and you talk about what you're going to do for people. All you want to do is focus on the bad, not knowing you got bad problems yourself. You're not going to focus on the good concerning them. You don't want us to believe that they can do anything good, but you want us to think you can do everything good, but yet you don't do nothing good for us. This is all an attack on Trump, on Ron DeSantis, on the Republicans, because they run the state. Now, don't get me wrong. Florida is no black haven. Florida ain't even no white haven. So many poor, what they labeled white trash. I don't like that label. There's so many poor white people that's on welfare. Matter of fact, more white people on welfare than black people. They get more public assistance than black people. So Florida deal with a lot of that stuff. But for the NAACP to sit there and say, don't you go down there, it's going to be a problem. Oh, you better be scared. If I was you, I would listen to the NAACP, Don't you go down to Florida. I'm not ever going to Florida. Girl, you're going to be missing out. Miami, Decro District. You don't want to go to Florida. Give me your ticket. Give me your ticket to Miami. Give me your ticket to Disney World. Give me your ticket to Universal Studios. Give me your ticket to Sarasota. Give me your ticket to Tampa, St. Pete. Give me your ticket to Panama City. Some of the best fishing I ever went to in my life. Deep sea fishing. Big marlins and all kind of tunas and stuff like that. Give me your ticket. Give me your keys and your Airbnb. Florida is straight. Don't let these fools sit there and tell you this stupid stuff just to score political points. They say it is dangerous to come because of Ron DeSantis. This ain't got nothing to do with whether they beating up black people, hanging black people. Look, they still hanging people. They hanged somebody in New York not too long ago over here right over there by George Washington Bridge at a park. Look it up. White supremacy and bigotry is all over the world. The world. Definitely in the United States. Florida ain't the most racist place in the world. Don't get me wrong, it's racist there, but it ain't the most racist place in the world. But the NAACP trying to make it seem like because of Ron DeSantis, Florida is super racist. This is an attack on Ron DeSantis, and here's their excuse. Don't go to Florida because Ron DeSantis is attempting to erase black history, restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. And they don't even cite the policies and the documents that he's using to push that. It said, before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color, the advisories say. So aboard of old Negroes, maybe a couple of Latinos, old Latinos, no young people, are making this decision just to prop up the Democratic Party. That's what it is. To take a hit on Ron DeSantis, going to scare people from coming to Florida because of what Ron DeSantis is so-called doing. And first of all, I'm not an African American. My people was native to this country. Don't get me wrong. I got family members that goes back into the Middle Passage. But I have another side of my family that's black, Aborigine, Indians that were already here before the settlers came. So they want to sit here and try to tell African Americans, because they're losing a lot of black people. Joe Biden sit there and made promises didn't keep, and we kind of knew he wasn't going to keep it. We just tried to give him a shot. Education. Under Ron DeSantis, Florida Department of Education had restricted classrooms, materials covering race, gender, and sexualities and other identity. Hold on, let me stop for a second. All right, if you put a travel advisory out there, most of the people that's coming to Florida ain't from Florida. So what they got to do with this? This is the Floridian issue. This ain't somebody coming from California going down to visit Miami or going to West Palm Beach. This ain't that. This whole article is stupid. Under DeSantis, like it wasn't under Scott, Bob Graham, any white governor, Lawton Child. Like this ain't never happened. Charlie Crist. Under DeSantis, Florida Department of Education, they have restricted classroom materials covering race, gender, and sexualities and other identities. The state education department also have prohibited mathematics textbooks and other materials from a range of reasons, including alleged inclusions of critical race theory. All right, so I'm going to stop there for a second. First of all, it is not your job. It's not their job to educate your kids. You take your kids to get an education. That's great. But it's your job to really educate your kids. I tell black people every day, they're never going to tell the truth about black history, and you're not going to be able to push them to, and there's no incentive for them to do it. The DOE is one of the worst organizations on the face of the planet. They're going to teach you their history and how they're heroes. They're never going to teach you about your heroes unless they pick the ones to talk about. They didn't talk about how heroic Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and all of those guys were. It's always just Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Reverend Abernathy. They ain't going to talk about Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, Fred Hampton. They're not going to talk about that stuff. They're not going to talk about Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam and their 10 Commandments or their policies for black people. And I don't agree with the religion and the faith, but those things were good things to implement in the black community. Got those brothers off the street, off drugs, got them sharp, got them looking militant, got them protecting their neighborhoods, got them protecting their families, taught them how to start their own business, build their own communities and not go outside, how to have people come to your community and do business with you, and then you go to them and do business with them in their community. They're not going to teach you these things. Ron DeSantis ain't going to teach it, and so ain't Governor Governor Hope. She ain't going to teach it either. None of these people are going to teach true black history. It's not about Ron DeSantis. Most of the Department of Education will never tell the truth. They will hide the truth. So they are no different from Ron DeSantis. If Ron DeSantis is hiding the truth, so are the rest of the Department of Education. They're going to hide the truth. That is why it's up to you. That's why I believe you should homeschool your kids. That's why I believe black communities should have their own schools, just like the Jewish community have their own schools. The Asian community has their own school. Sure, if you want to send them to a public school, fine. But it should be your option to homeschool them, send them to a boarding school or whatever. DeSantis last week signed legislation banning diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative in the public colleges and universities. No. That policy, the AP studies, were that he was banning certain aspects of the study and revamping it and coming out with a new one. The study basically said, and it's not just him, he can't make the overall decision on his own. It still got to come through legislation. Still got to come through Congress, the state house, the state senate. Still got to go through them. And in that study, it showed that all kind of other stuff was being implemented in those black studies. Latino studies was being implemented. And I know we got some black Latinos, but they was going all off onto a whole bunch of hosts of things that had nothing to do with the black community in general. If it's an AP Black History study, let it be an AP Black History study. But like I said, you should never depend on them anyway. None of them are going to properly educate your children about your history. They ain't going to tell you that majority of you were native to this country and that black people, that they were doing business between Africa and what the United States used to be called Turtle Island, that they've been doing business for that a long time ago because the land mass was different. The water mass in between Africa and the United States wasn't as a huge gap as it was. The land mass was totally different. Africa was closer to the United States and South America at that time. They ain't going to teach you that. They ain't going to teach you about the trade and the boats that was going back and forth from Africa to the United States or to the Americas way before American Rasputin, way before Christopher Columbus. They're not going to tell you that. So why are you going to sit here, NAACP, to try to fearmonger people about Ron DeSantis, that Florida is hostile because of some educational study? The news ain't Florida. You shouldn't go to Florida because it's hostile because them boys down there, them good old boys down there, they got sundown towns. They're going to rustle you up. And believe me, there are a few sundown towns in Florida, but not that many black people live in those towns anyway. They deep, rural, yee-haw country, one little country store and one little gas station, place like that. We still got people over here choking people out in New York on the subway. And the NAACP want to tell us don't go to Florida because of education. In January, Florida rejected advanced placement AP course. Guys, when you get a chance, I may do it on a special edition of the Rock Report on Rockfin. I mean, not Rockfin, but on Rumble. We're going to go through the AP studies because it's not as horrible as they trying to make it look. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. It's not the way I want it to be. It's some things that I think they should never put in. It's just like a bill. They have so much pork in it. They be implementing so many crap in a bill that has nothing to do. The pork don't have nothing to do with the bill, but they want to throw it in there anyway. And that's how some of these people are doing with these studies. Ain't got nothing to do with black history, but they want to throw that crap in there anyway. And that's why they had to pull it. But we're going to go over it because I don't like to just say, look at here. We're going to look at it. In January, Florida rejected advanced placement course. Let me just, I can go through all this, but this, as you can see, this is all about fearing people because the education system, when most of the people coming into Florida ain't going there to get no education. Critics say that such laws supported by DeSantis is discriminatory and a threat to democracy. I'm just going to let that marinate. Well, they're not teaching black history. They never taught black history. Florida ain't teaching it. New York ain't teaching it. Philly ain't teaching it. DC ain't teaching it. None of them teaching black history. They're teaching their version of black history. And that's what you want to settle with, their version? Because that's what this AP study is. It's still Florida version of black history. They just took some stuff that they felt like they don't supposed to be in there, like the LGBTQ issues in there. They believe it should be a separate study. Don't put it in with the black study. They're not throwing the whole black stuff out the window, but that's what they think got you thinking. Let me be clear, failing to teach an accurate representation of the horrors and inequality that black Americans have faced and continue to face is a disservice to students and a dereliction of duty to all, the NAACP President Derek Johnson said in the advisory. Professor Kimball Crenshaw is a leading voice and scholar of critical race theory, which explores systematic racism within U.S. legal institutions. Crenshaw, one of several authors and academics edited out of College Board AP African American Study course amid Florida's rejection of the course. In other words, let me read again. Professional Kimberly Crenshaw is the leading voice of and scholar of critical race theory, which explores systematic race within U.S. legal institutions. Crenshaw was one of the several authors and academics edited out of the College Board AP African Studies. So she had some study in there and they took it out. Well, if it has something about the Native Americans and the Latino communities, I know they probably was marginalized too, but that's a whole different study. Crenshaw told the Guardian in March an interview that the laws against black history in Florida and elsewhere were the tip of the iceberg of conservative efforts to roll back progressives and push the U.S. toward authoritarianism. Both of them pushing authoritarianism, people. You got the Democrats on the Democrats don't want you to have total free speech, and you got the Republicans trying to hide history. When honestly speaking, we never really let true history be told. Now, when I grew up, I had the Ebony book. My mama gave me the Ebony Black History book, and I saw some of the things that were going on in that book. But it didn't talk about it. It was only the scratch on the surface of what was going on, horrors that was going on to this country. Most of this stuff I found out by doing my own due diligence, by doing my own research. Well, I found out they were slaughtering black people after the war, left and right. I found out they was they was taking away our babies, splitting the families up. There was breeding brothers and sisters and having to form babies and all that. And the babies would come out wrong and they were feeding them alligator, all kind of stuff, using them as alligator baits, all kind of horrors. They're not going to teach that in college AP study. They're not going to teach that in any kind of history class from elementary all the way up to college. So what the heck does this got to do with traveling to Florida to go to Disney World? I can keep going. I'm gonna keep going. This is getting me upset. Where was I? Okay, here we go. Schools on the side of neo-segregationist faction, or they going to stick with the comments that we've all celebrated for the last 50 years, 60 years, asked Crenshaw, referring to progress made on equal opportunities since the 60s. That's all Ron DeSantis is going to focus on. That's all Rami, whatever his name, Swami Brahmi, the racist Indian, that's running for office. That's all he's going to focus on. They're going to say, look where we are now, when a lot of still saying, we ain't really went that far, bro. So come on. Got a whole lot of work today. Run me my money that you owe us. They don't want to talk about that in the AP study. They don't want to talk about reparation. And they shame that if you tell the truth about the horrors that white America did to our black people before it finally settled in and allow other people come into this country thanks to black people, foundational black Americans, they okay long as you don't go past their criteria. They're going to always make up the criteria. They always made up the criteria. That's why it's up to you to educate your children. And if your children have some friends that come to the house, I don't care if they red, yellow, black, or white, sit their butt down and tell them true history. But most of these people fear, well, my child is going to hate their father and they're going to hate their mother and stuff like that. Who said so? Who said that? Who said that? It should teach them not to be like their forefathers, like their great-great-great-great-granddaddy. You can say, yeah, great-great-granddaddy was a horrible man. They used to sit there and have ice cream served when a black man got hung for voting. Guys, I'm not going to keep going over this article because it is really taking me out. Let me bring myself back up here. So here's the deal. NAACP need to stop with this foolishness. Florida is okay. Florida is fine. Florida is a nice, beautiful place. Florida have nice, beautiful hills, caverns, lakes, rivers, you name it. Florida has it. It's a beautiful place to visit. Some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, some of the most beautiful people in the world. It is the home of the seniors. A lot of people go down to Florida retire. It got some of the most beautiful mobile home parks that you ever seen in your life, man. I mean, laid out mobile home parks. So if you get older and you want to retire, look at going to Florida. I mean, I can go on and on the beauty of Florida. The cities of Florida are great. Tampa is great. St. Pete is great. Ybor City is great. Sarasota is great. Tampa, Bradenton is great. You name Miami is great. Fort Myers, Naples, you name it. Great cities. Titusville, you name it. Jacksonville. And yeah, you got some racists and bigots in every city. Foolish, stupid cops in every city. People who think they know, think they can do anything they want whenever they want. They everywhere. But Ron DeSantis' educational system don't have nothing to do with a travel advisory. Again, people, they never taught black history. They never were pro-black history, and no state is going to be pro-black history. Not even Chicago, Illinois, not New York. None of them going to be pro-black studies. That's why it's up to you. And as far as the NAACP, they need to stop their foolishness. Now, still speaking of Florida, Ron DeSantis' policies on immigrations are tight. Now, again, I live in New York. New York, they just took one of the most famous, beautiful 5-star hotels and started busing immigrants from Costa Rica, Honduras, you name it, into the city of New York, and they put them in these elaborate hotels. Feeding them good, giving them phones, giving them everything. Meanwhile, 2 blocks over, and I'm literally a block over, you can see homeless people in the street. A block over, you can see homeless people in the street right next to that bougie, elaborate hotel. Look at the hotel on YouTube. I just did a video on it. The Roosevelt Hotel. 5-star gourmet dining, succulent meals. You get a nice warm bed with an own shower, TV, and everything. Get the free lights, watch TV. And they're going to groom these people to take over some jobs that are needed. That's why Mayor Adams is crying like a biatch, saying we need more money. And he's looking at New Yorkers, and New Yorkers saying, man, you better get up out of our face, man. You already taxing us out of wazoo. We're not giving you no more money. We're going to fight you tooth and toenail. And if you even go down the aisle of raising taxes or coming up with a new taxes, your job is at stake. You just passed weed. What up with that money? Because the show ain't going into a black community. And what pisses me off about them passing the marijuana legislation law, black people really pushed that and really was aggressive and end up going to jail the most selling weed. We don't get a chance to profit off the dispensary industry. Every time I turn up and go to a new dispensary popping up, it's always an Indian in there. They ain't got nothing against Indian, but Indians wasn't pushing these drugs and going to jail for it and got a mark on their record for it. Mayor de Blasio said, look, we're going to make sure that you, the ones who got incarcerated, gets first dib at opening up your own business because you're good at this. Kicked us to the curb. I don't know how I got on that, but it is what it is. What happened to that money? You got so many ways to fund things, but my thing is, look, we shouldn't be funding this anyway. You should have just sent them back. But Rob, you playing ping pong. That ain't got nothing to do with me. It ain't got nothing to do with you. You got New Yorkers right here can't find jobs. You got New Yorkers right here can't get a decent place to stay. Not every homeless person are on substance or crazy. Some of them just priced out, and they're not even trying to put them in these hotels like that. And Ron DeSantis has pushed some legislation, and let me go back to this, push some legislation. I guess, they ain't gonna like this one too. Ron DeSantis put some legislation to deal with the crisis because these, we was getting so many migrant workers in the state of Florida so fast that they were taking these jobs with no documentation. Well, Robert, somebody got to take this job. Yeah, black people, native Floridians, white, black, it don't matter. The citizens of Florida should be taking those jobs, just like the citizens of New York. Mayor Adams going around here passing out flyers saying we got all these city jobs and nobody's trying to get them. Fool, that's because nobody don't know about them. You trying to hide that information so you can get these migrant workers to take these civil jobs with the city and get all these job city benefits and things like that. But you won't give it to the black people here in New York. You won't give it to the foundational black. You won't give it to the immigrant black. You won't offer it to. You only want to try to smooth your way in getting these jobs over to non-documented workers, migrant workers. Even some states right now are trying to not only give non-documented workers the ability to vote, thinking that's going to help them out, but they're giving them positions as police officers. You don't even have documentation. You're not even a citizen of New York or New York State or the United States, and they want to hire you to be a police officer. They did it in LA, San Francisco, and New York tries to do it too. Mayor Adams is saying we don't have these jobs, so Biden, I need you to give me an order where we can get these people jobs. I need it now. I'm like, no, Biden, you need to figure out a way to send them back and stop destabilizing their country and help them have a country that they don't have to flee. A country they can build into a haven for themselves. Nobody should be able to be fleeing their country. A lot of times these people are fleeing because we help destabilize it. And we're feeling guilty and say, hey, we messed up your city. We messed up your country. You can come to the United States, and that's how we get these refugees. How about fix it? And stop going in these countries and destabilizing them, making these people refugees, looking for a place to stay, and the only place they figure they can come to because you owe them because you destroyed their country is the United States. And who got to foot the bill? You. It ain't a racist situation. It's the United States always meddling in other people's affairs, destabilizing their country, leaving these people with no place to go because everything got messed up because of our hand that turned thing into green doodle. Governor Ron DeSantis signed strongest anti-illegal immigration legislation in the country to combat Biden's border crisis. Biden is not a pro-border guy. Don't let them fool you. Kamala Harris even told them don't come over here. But they coming anyway. I think now Title 49, I believe, has expired. They're going to be coming in here by the droves. Let's read this. Jacksonville, Florida. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis, the Satan, signed a bill. 716, I believe. This print is small. To combat the dangerous effects of illegal immigration. Now, I know some of you people don't like that word. Illegal. Man, if you don't get out of here, if you're not coming into this country the legal way, you're illegal. I may not call you alien because you're not from outer space, but you're illegally here. If I sneak over to Africa, sneak over to some country, and I don't have U.S. citizen, and I don't have citizenship in that country, and I sneak over, guess what? And I get a job and everything, I get the documentations and everything, whether it's legit or fake, and I start working and making money, guess what I am? Still illegal because I'm not a citizen. I didn't go through the proper channel and become a citizen. Anybody that's not a citizen of the United States is illegal. The only thing that make them not legal is they got a visa or a green card that give them temporary status here. Now, tightening up on the immigration laws is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and here's the reason why. Additionally, the bill prohibit local government from issuing identification cards to illegal aliens. I can't read. This is so small. Invalidate ID cards issued to illegal aliens in the other states and require hospitals to collect and submit data on the cost of providing health care to illegal. I don't like that word, illegal aliens. Let's say illegal immigrants, man. More today announced can be found. I can barely read that. It's so small. So the deal is Ron DeSantis has really put a lockdown on the documentation. You got to have the proper documents. If you don't have it, you got to go. You're not going to sit here and go get all this medical treatment and all this stuff in here and you're not a citizen. Now, I know you probably say, Robert, that's inhumane. I'm not a fan of that. I think no matter what, you get in a situation, you deserve medical treatment. Now, they believe that should happen. You deserve medical treatment, but you're going to pay. We ain't paying for it. Taxpayers not paying for it. Hey, that's why we need single payer, Medicare for all. This country, nobody should be paying for health care. But when it comes to the job situation, that's a different story because people like Eric Adams are fighting so hard to have these migrant workers come to New York City or come to Florida or whatever, these corporate contractors, these building contracts and things like that. They love to have the migrant workers because they don't have the proper paperwork. They can cheapen them out. They can have them work for less than nothing. And they will sit there and accept it. Well, I'm just happy to be in America. I just deal with it for now. No, man. One of the reasons why you're here is because the people out there, the citizens of the United States, they want those jobs, but they don't want to be used and abused like you're being used and abused. They got buildings to build. Right now, New York City got so many buildings that was closed. They're trying to attract people back into New York City because the freaking virus really tore New York apart. And we had all these abandoned buildings, great, beautiful buildings. And now we need to revamp. We need to revitalize the inside of these buildings so we can attract these companies back in, give them cheaper rent. So we got to find some way to give them opportunity to save money. And the best way to get them to save money is have people work for less than nothing. Now, that's not slavery. Because slavery was free. They didn't get nothing. The only thing they got was a chance to wash some clothes and eat some slop. So Mayor Adams need Biden to help him out so he can have these migrant workers go fix New York and beautify New York and get paid pennies on a dollar, because I'm trying to make these corporatists see that I'm a good guy and I'm for them so I can get more donor money, and see that I'm a good guy, that I'm saving them money. And that's not fair. That's why, brothers, when these jobs now, these migrant workers are leaving, you got to get on these jobs. Now, people often say, who's going to work these menial jobs? Black people. Black people will work those jobs. Who told you we won't clean? Man, we would love a cleaning job. Here in New York, cleaners making, I've known some cleaners make $25, $35 an hour. I got a friend of mine used to work with me in 32 BJ. She's housekeeping at Google. She makes $32 an hour. But what Mayor Adams is, he want us to suffer and not get these jobs. He want to offer these contracted jobs to these migrant workers, and they're not going to get paid the $25, $30 an hour. They probably get $15 minimum, which is still decent for coming into this country. And what they're going to do is pool their money together as a family and buy their first piece of property. Take those black people. We need to get back to doing that. Pooling our resources with the family and buying property and keeping within the family. They're going to buy these 4-level homes, and they're going to put a family on each level. Now, the immigrants from Jamaica and stuff like that, they do that when they come here. Black American Foundation of Black, you were doing that. It's time for you to get back to doing that. So here we go. One video right here. There are plenty of jobs out there. Now these migrant workers have left Florida. I guess they call themselves making them pay a price. Did you know that there were migrant workers who started doing delivery jobs, went on strike? They got with some Latino union, and the Latino union was finessing them, all to cry out that we want to get paid $30 an hour or we are going to stop delivering. Folks, there's exploit labor organizing, and there's serious nitty to the gritty labor organizing. You know doggone well you're not an American citizen, and you're going to come up here talking about you want $30 an hour or you're going to strike for delivery. Man, the standard is good. I want more money. You talking about you're going to put a hurt on America because they don't give you $30 an hour? All I can say is welcome to America, because they've been putting a hurt on us. Some of these jobs are worth $25, $30 an hour. They don't give it to us. Well, what make you think they're going to give it to you? You got to slow your roll, take your time, and get your documentation, get your papers, and become American citizen. Then you make moves like that. Then we all can rally behind you. But you're not even a citizen here, and you asking them to give you something that they would not give us? No, you need to get your citizenship first. Then you get with unions to ask for more money, because now you're a citizen. But to not be a citizen and you making demands like that is crazy. 9 times 10, they're not going to give it to you because you're not a citizen. Number 2, they can always send you back. But let me I know you said, Rob, you anti-immigration. No, I'm proper immigration. Let's put it that way. Go through the right channels, become American citizen, the old school way, new school way, whatever, and then make your plight. You coming down here from another country because you're seeking asylum, and you did a little delivery work, and you're saying, oh, it's hard, it's dangerous, I want $30 an hour. Man, if you don't chill and slow your roll, you need to focus on becoming American citizen first before you start making demands like that. Then once you become American citizen, get with the union organization that's been doing that, that's been demanding that. Now, recently, there's been some videos going out about different places that are being hit, including Florida, because of the migrant workers walking out or being told they had to leave or being raided and put in detention centers. Watch this. Oh, that's the crazy lady with the back. We'll get to that story. And we'll get to that story too. All right. Get to that food too. All right. So here we go. Now, this is a story in Florida. They claiming the store is empty because migrant workers, truck drivers, those who are not U.S. citizens illegally here. I don't know how they got truck drivers. I don't know how they got a license, but I teach identity theft workshops here in New York City, so it's nothing for somebody to come in this country and get 4 or 5 identities of people and work on their identities. Next thing you know, this person owing taxes because they had 35 people working in their name. They call it driver's license identity theft and tax identity theft. They put their face on your information and they live as you. I got all kind of videos. If you go to the ID Theft Coalition or ID Theft Center, NYC or whatever, you'll see the videos on YouTube. I teach a class about that. Yeah. They can't get the proper documentation, so they go to different places, flea market or whatever, and they get fake documents, which is really your information, but they're fakes, and they work under your name. And you wonder why you got the tax lien, why you get this over here. And then they get a house in your name. They get cars in your name. You ain't never got a house or car. Ain't that strange? And they out here driving trucks. And in this case, they're gone. And guess what? Nobody's driving the trucks. I guess the stock up at Walmart. I guess the migrant workers at Walmart gone. And here's what I say, black people, there's some jobs open. You need a job, go get it. These people lying on you got you saying that you don't want to work these jobs on, those jobs are below our pay grade. No, they not. All we want is a decent pay and a job. We'll take the job. Black truck drivers should be taking over those routes, making that money. Go and take over those routes and make that money. There's an open field for you to work. Here's another one. Construction sites. Empty. Construction site.
From Auburndale, Florida, another construction site with very few workers. What Ron disaster have done to Florida and what Floridians have done to themselves voting against their own interest is going to hurt everyone.
All right, so them voting for Ron DeSantis is voting for their own interest. Well, there's not black people. Black people are not flooding these construction sites because they're not allowed to, because they want more money. These people will not hire black people because black people say, hey, this job's worth $30 an hour, $35 an hour. I got my paperwork. I got my certificate. I'm a true and tried carpenter, went to school here in the United States and got my certification with the state of Florida. I'm a real electrician, certified with the state of Florida. I'm a real plumber, certified with the state of Florida. But now we have migrant workers coming in. They probably did that in Costa Rica and stuff like that, but they ain't got papers. But this boss man, this foreman or this boss man that run the construction site sees an opportunity for him to save money by having them do the plumbing, but they're not going to get the proper pay for it. And you say voting against their own interests. How? Now, look, again, I'm not a Ron DeSantis guy, but making things proper when it comes to jobs and legality in the United States are like that is the issue. That's an issue. You need to come through the proper channels. I see my Jamaican friends do it. I see my Haitian friends do it, but a lot of Latinos don't do it. A lot of migrant workers. Let me put it this way. I wouldn't say Latinos, but a lot of south of the border, South America, Central America, and below, and some of the islands closer to South America, they don't go through the proper channel. They migrate. And these governors and these mayors want the ability to give them work permits so they can go out there and work these menial jobs. And my hat's off to them. You guys working hard. You're working these menial jobs, but they're not going to pay you what you really worth. And you say that's wrong interest? Voting, you're voting against their best interest. Neither one of it, but Biden policy ain't no different. He don't want y'all here either. He just doing that to get your vote. He thinking that if we can do something great for immigrants, they gonna love us. They gonna vote for us. But yeah, we got black people. I'm telling you now, black people vote for the Democratic Party in the 90%. They don't do nothing for us. So what make you think they're gonna do something for you? The only reason they'll seem like they're doing something for you is because you are going to allow them to manipulate you. Black people ain't going to allow them, you ain't manipulating us. Nah, son, no. That's a $35 an hour job, man. I'm not dumb. All you have to do is Google it. The job starts at $25 an hour. And you want me to get $12.50? Man, if you don't go somewhere with that, see, we're not going to take that. But because you're hungry and you want to, you'll sit there and take that job, undermining the rest of the United States Americans who would love that same job, but no, he's supposed to be getting paid more money because the rent is $2 more. And they got goals and they got bills they got to pay. It's just like those who working in labor. We're preparing to go on strike. The workers are taking the time off and here's some temp workers. I would tell those temp workers, look, you know what you're doing is undermining us. Yeah, but I need this job. Yeah, but that job is temporary. You ain't going to have that job long. You need to be out here picketing with us because we'll help you get a job and keep a job. Anyway, let me keep going.
Hello everyone from Auburndale, Florida, another construction site with very few workers. What Ron Disaster have done to Florida and what Floridians have done to themselves, voting against their own interest, is going to...
Oh, look here. The people who voted like that, that's not their interest. White women, that's not their problem. White men, that's not their problem. Wealthy black men in Florida, that's not their problem. Wealthy Latino men in Florida, that's not their problem. Businessmen that's doing all that stuff, that's not their problem. They have voted for their interest because this is in their interest. In their interest of being able to get great quality work done for cheap labor. That's the capitalists in them. It's the capitalism. I've been in that position before. Man, somebody offered me this amount of money to do a job for me, and I would love to pay him $1,000 to do the job, but I don't have $1,000. All I got is $300. He's willing to do it for $300. What I supposed to do? What I supposed to do? I know it seemed exploitative, but he said he'll take the $300 versus $1,000. I think he should be getting $1,000. And if I had $1,000, I would give it to him. But these people, they know they got the money. They just want to pocket and expand and hire more migrant workers and use them for free labor and don't give them what they deserve, and they want to take that money and expand. It's about them, not the migrant workers. Let me keep going.
Support everyone, legals and illegals. Yes, they like him, they love him because he's tough. He's the new sheriff in town. He had a fight against Mickey Mouse and he won. Well, there you have it. Please support the undocumented people. We need the support of the American people. Please keep supporting us. This is starting. Please keep the support for the Mexicans.
Where's the support for the black people? Black people want those jobs. Black people need those jobs. Native Americans need no job. I'm going to focus on black people. There's a lot of black people that has been trained and skilled in these jobs, and they are denied these jobs by these contractors because we know what the pay structure is supposed to be for those who got the license and proper paperwork to do these jobs. Why do you want us to support you when you don't have the proper paperwork and you're allowing them to exploit you, which kind of cut us off. And it's not going to help you. It's not helping you at all. You got to be standing on this side because they're going to exploit you. And we're people who are not going to allow ourselves to be exploited. We can do those jobs. We can plumb. We can do wires, electrical work. We can do all that. We can build beautiful homes too. And we want to, but we can't because they deny us and go to the Mexicans, the undocumented. Why? Because they can exploit them. And that's what they do. They exploit them. Let me go to another video. There's another construction site.
Hello everyone, this is an update. Today is Tuesday, May the 16th. It's not Sunday. There is my truck with grass. And this is a construction site here in Davenport, Florida, 20 miles from Orlando. And this is all you see. It's 9 a.m. Usually at this time there's a lot of people here working, all kind of contractors doing their job. Roofers, of course, a lot of noise and loud Mexican music. This is what you hear today.
So we have a lot of people out here normally working. It's usually loud. We allow Mexican music because Mexicans run this show. No, these white corporate owners run this show. And these exploitive Latinos run this show. And even exploiting black people that may be lucky enough to get be a contractor to do some of these houses. He's exploiting. Because these greedy capitalists want to make money at your expense. They're not going to give you what you deserve. And there's plenty of people with documentation. They got the documents. They got the proper training from the state. Got license from the state to do this work. And they got it because they want to up their value structure. And these people don't want to hire him because he have a high value structure. And they'll rather go to a person that's probably got some experience in doing it in another country. That's going to give you a shot to do it because you ain't got to pay them $40 an hour. He ain't got to pay you $40 an hour. Can't you see where I'm coming from? It's not that I'm anti-immigration and stuff like that. I'm saying things need to be done proper and right. You got plenty of people in the United States that need housing, but you'll step over them. Matter of fact, you'll tell them to get their butt up and throw them on the other side like Uncle Phil just to clear a path out for the corporatists to bulldoze the place that they were sleeping in. You're not going to put them in a high priority, high rise 5-star hotels like you do the migrant workers. That is not fair. You got a lot of people in the United States that's documented, have the proper certificate, have the proper training, have the proper license, and they got it because they want to up their value, and these contractors will not hire them because they'll rather hire the person with cheap labor. Man, I'm sitting in the building, man, I'm seeing the whole floor of Mexicans coming down with no black in there. Not one black. Look here, homie, you seem like you hate the Mexicans. No, it's not. I hate the Mexicans. I love Mexican. I hate the way the system is exploiting people. And this is causing the divide. You got plenty of black people who want to do those jobs that they claim, well, these are hard, dirty jobs, and the only people that want to do them is the Mexicans. That's an insult to Mexicans. They don't want to just do dirty jobs. And who told you black people and any other person don't want to do those jobs? A job is a job. A decent paycheck is a decent paycheck. I just want to make sure I'm getting decent pay because I qualify for that decent pay. I'm getting my gun license. I kind of work in security sometimes. So I'm getting my gun license. And I know gun license, you can make $35 an hour. Once I get those gun license, I expect to make anywhere from $30, $35 an hour. You trying to tell me as an armed guard that this place, I'm only getting $12 an hour. I got a problem with you. You exploiting me, man. Well, if you don't get it, I got this Latino guy. He don't even have the proper New York State gun permit and gun license, but he shot. You know, he used to be in the army in Mexico, and we're gonna hire him. You still got to go get the proper documentation. This ain't Mexico. You still got to get the training. You still. Why are you gonna hire this guy? You're exploiting. Anyway, I think one more video. Yeah, that's it on that one. So the whole moral story of this particular video, and let me talk to you. Black people, there's a lot of jobs out available. Ron DeSantis, and I'm quite sure a lot of other people, including New York, including Governor Ho, Shell, and I pause when I say her name, Governor Ho, Shell, and Mayor Adams, the immigration thing is whooping them. It's just, immigration policies is just horrible. We have horrible policies. We have horrible ways of getting people to become citizens of the United States. We prioritize, we manipulate, we con and scheme people that want to come to this country. Many reasons why they're in this country is because we destabilize their country. They don't want to. I can't imagine anybody really want to leave their hometown if they had decent jobs and a decent life there. Why would they leave? I've seen some of these places that they come from, beautiful places, beautiful rivers, beautiful lake, but the place got ran down because the U.S. doing embargoes and sanctions on them and stuff like that, destabilizing them. And now, because they're all out in the fields now, because we bombed up their country or whatever, these people have no place to go. And guess where they're going to be coming? To America. And the reason they want to, they're going to send them to America, well, there's a whole host of reasons. And I can go over them all one day. But this is one reason. Exploitation. Exploitation. Black people would love to do these jobs. I don't care how dirty they are. Black people do it. You got Ezel on Friday willing to wipe up your vomit or your doo-doo with corn in it for $5. But, you know, black people, we are hard workers too. We're not lazy. They want you to think you are. You're hard workers. It's just that black people ain't going to be busting their butt and not getting their value. And you shouldn't be busting your butt and not getting your value. These people are going to prolong you getting any kind of citizenship so they can exploit you, because they know if you got your value, if you got your paperwork and you went through the proper channels and got the right documentation, the state documentation, the state documents to do these jobs and to hold up and say, hey, I'm certified in this and that. My pay is this. We're negotiating my pay. This is how much I want. I'm not going any below. See, they want to eliminate that from you. They don't give us the job because we're going to put that in their face. So even though I'm for people coming, look, black people build this country into one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Everybody want to come to the United States. We built a beautiful place. Everybody wants to come. People who have been persecuting their country, they don't want to fight. They're tired of fighting, which means they don't have winning and victory in their mind. So they'll come to the United States and just park here. They say they was going to go back 5-10 years later. These Negroes ain't going nowhere. They still here because they love it. It's not like their own country. And we're saying, go back to your country and fight and make that a haven so we can come visit y'all sometime.